The commission has not made it to Alex. They had to go to Annandale first.
Yes. At the moment, the team is overstretched because of a number of protests across Gauteng. I had to earlier today dispatch a team to Annandale to monitor the situation and to report back to me. So in terms of Alex, we have sufficient information at our disposal to start with the inquiry on Thursday. But we just wanted to go there again to speak to the leaders and to see what else we can include
because
in our terms of reference.
Your team was supposed to be in Alex today and tomorrow.
Yes.
So that will not happen. You have sufficient evidence and information, as you say now.
Yes, we have sufficient information to proceed on Thursday. We have already settled our terms of reference for the inquiry, which will start on Thursday, and we hope that the relevant departments will cooperate with the Commission's investigations.
Talking about the relevant departments, Mr. Jones, we understand that the Commission has actually served the Johannesburg City Mayor, Gauteng Cooperative Governance Head of the department, and the DG in the Office of the Premier to appear before the Commission itself. So I suppose this is actually part of the entire investigation. Yes,
we are trying to depoliticize the issues because the issues raised by Alex residents are genuine human rights issues. So we have invited the technocrats, the accounting officers at these two spheres of government to come and account on what they have done for the people of Alex and what plans they have in place to address their conditions. And of course, we will be demanding answers on a broad range of issues, including the cooperation between the City of Joburg and the departments, because we've established that efforts to promote intergovernmental relations have been undermined, and we want to get to the bottom of that.
And we've actually seen over the past 2 weeks that the blame has been placed on the previous administration, which is the ANC, and the current one in Johannesburg, now the Democratic Alliance. Now, you talk of trying to depoliticize the entire situation. How do you plan to navigate your way through this, so to ensure that politicians do not necessarily use the concerns of the people of Alexandra as an electioneering tool?
Yeah, the way we've drafted our terms of reference, we want reports from these government departments. The City of Joburg has to account on what they have done since they took over the city 2.5 years ago. The current provincial administration also has to account on what they have done in the last 5 years to address human rights or socio-economic rights infringements in Alex. And the Department of Gauteng Human Settlements in the province also has to account on housing development and housing challenges in Alexandra. So we want to move this away, take this away from politicians, so that the priority is on the actual socio-economic needs and material needs of the people of Alex.
All right. And the issue around the Alex renewal project, will that also form part of what the Commission will be looking into?
Well, the Commission has joined forces with the Office of the Public Protector. So the Commission's investigation will focus on the human rights aspects, but the Office of the Public Protector will focus on alleged impropriety, corruption, and maladministration in as far as the Alex renewal project is concerned.
Yeah. Now, talk to us about those human rights violations, Mr. Jones. We do know, of course, that Alex people have been complaining of a number of things. So what are the specific issues around the human rights violations that the Commission will be focusing on?
Yeah, when it comes to the City of Joburg, it's lack of provision of basic services, basic municipal services, refuse removal, water, sanitation, bylaw enforcement, and general environmental degradation in and around Alex. And in relation to the role of the provincial government, it's around housing in the main. It's around provision of housing. We know that Alex is a densely populated area, and if these two government departments had worked out a plan to address the issues in Alex, the city would have identified land where people could be resettled. And of course, there's also issues of illegal structures being erected and this is attributable to allegedly the lack of bylaw enforcement. But we want to also ascertain as to whether has the City of Johannesburg spent money allocated to it by the Provincial Department of Human Settlements in terms of building houses for people in Alex. So there are a number of things, but in the main, it's socio-economic rights.
Socio-economic rights. Yeah. But one can also ask, one could ask Mr. Jones as to why did the Commission have to wait for the situation to get out of control? Why didn't you go to Alex earlier and address those issues?
Well, I only took over the Gauteng Provincial Office 2 years ago. Yeah. And given the preeminent role of Gauteng, people come to Gauteng for economic opportunities. As we speak, the population sits at 14.7 million people. So we are trying, to address all these issues.
But how do you ensure that the Commission is proactive instead of being reactive? Well, because one can say that the situation could have been avoided a long time ago.
Well, in the main, we are proactive. If you look at our Act, the Commission is empowered to initiate its own investigations. And in this matter, we initiated our own investigation. We didn't wait for anyone to lodge a complaint. We've been involved in Alex before when there was an outbreak of violence against non-nationals in 2008. Yeah. There has been studies on poverty traps.
But this is a different issue altogether now. This is socio-economic issues.
Yes, this is a different issue altogether. But if you've seen in the last 2 years, there has been an increased visibility on the part of the Commission to address the plight of vulnerable and marginalized communities in Gauteng. And this is the focus of the office. This is the focus of my team that I'm working with.
But tell me, will the Commission be able to keep up with all the protest actions taking place in Gauteng? I think last week only we had over 5 in different places. So your team was dispatched earlier to Annandale. Yeah. If we see a different protest in a different area, will the Commission be able to keep up with what is happening in the province?
Well, we are outstretched, but this requires a broader strategy to deal with the high prevalence of protests. There were protests even prior to the election campaign by the different parties. Gauteng is actually synonymous with public unrest and public demonstration and marches and so forth. But we have entered into a memorandum of understanding with SALGA with a view to addressing some of the genuine issues that people are raising. There seems to be a disjuncture between what government wants to do for the people and what the people want. So there's a need to ensure that we enhance community participation in government processes. There's a need to capacitate councillors. There's a need to ensure that we have a more responsive and a more transparent governance in the local sphere of government. So we will use that MOU to ensure that we broadly address the issues plaguing our communities.
All right, so there's still a long way to go. But thank you so much for coming through. We'll keep up with you to get the latest regarding this particular investigation. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you.
All right, well, there you have it. Buang Jones is the South African Human Rights Commission provincial manager, talking to us about the investigation that the Commission will take into issues in Alexandra. All right, it's time now to take a look at what the weather has in store for us. Mdu is standing by.
Thank you very much, and a very warm welcome to the weather desk. It is partly cloudy over the northeastern provinces of South Africa today as a result of a passing cold front along the south coast of KwaZulu-Natal. It is bringing a slight chance of rainfall along the south coast of the Western Cape and the Eastern Cape province, but scattered in the coastal areas of KwaZulu-Natal. There is also a watch for some severe storms over the Zululand districts of KwaZulu-Natal later on today, so please be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, isolated thunder showers over the northeastern provinces, covering some areas in the northwest province and here in the Gauteng province later on today. And tomorrow is still expecting a similar weather pattern with some isolated rainfall along the south coast of the Western Cape and the Eastern Cape province. But once again, we're expecting scattered thunder showers over the north coast of KwaZulu-Natal and spreading all the way towards the southern parts of Swaziland. We do also expect a slight chance of thunder showers in Limpopo and some areas in the Mpumalanga province. Otherwise, clear conditions are expected in the central parts of South Africa for tomorrow. And temperatures will remain relatively warm over the Gauteng province, Even though it will be partly cloudy in Johannesburg, we're still expecting a maximum of 24 degrees and a high of 27 degrees for Pretoria. We do expect some light showers, though, over the eastern parts of this province later on tomorrow afternoon. Further north, a partly cloudy day is also expected in Limpopo tomorrow. Temperatures, though, are very warm over the western bushveld. Pleasant in Polokwane at 27 degrees, but even warmer conditions for Giyani in the lowveld at a maximum of 31 degrees. In Mpumalanga, we're expecting some fog patches in the morning over the high-lying areas in the southern highveld. Emelo will peak at 18 degrees and a maximum of 24 degrees for Mbombela. Warm weather will persist over the lowveld region of this province with a maximum of 30 degrees expected for Skukuza. KwaZulu-Natal will once again see a 60% probability of rainfall along the north coast from Richards Bay and all the way towards Kosi Bay in the far north coast of KwaZulu-Natal, with a watch for some severe storms once again expected over Ulundi in the Zululand district of KwaZulu-Natal. Very mild conditions over the southern Drakensberg as a result of a passing cold front for Kokstad at a maximum of 20 degrees. Cool conditions are also expected along the coastal areas of the Eastern Cape province. Very mild temperatures, though, as well going towards the interior with a maximum of 18 degrees expected in Aliwal North. Cape Town is peaking at only 20 degrees for tomorrow, 19 degrees for Hermanus and Cape Agalas, and we're expecting a warm day, though, over Glen William in the West Coast district at a maximum of 24 degrees. Sunny skies in the Northern Cape with a maximum of 24 degrees over Uppington. Dry conditions will persist over the Free State province with temperatures peaking at 21 degrees for Bloemfontein, and Sasolburg will see a maximum of 24 degrees. And lastly, in the Northwest province, a slight chance of thunder showers over the western bushveld. Temperatures will peak at 25 degrees for Rustenburg, 26 for Mahikeng, and a maximum of 29 degrees over Tosca for tomorrow. And that is all from the weather desk.